What's up guys, Single Player Nacho here. We are here with 20 craziest facts and myths from the Resident Evil series of all time. These are the craziest ones that I could find, and I've concocted a very shitty slideshow to kind of showcase them. So 10 facts, 10 myths. Now the myths I actually pulled mostly from Resident Evil iceberg lists. So they're kind of crazy conspiracy theories that aren't confirmed, so take them with a grain of salt, of course. The facts, however, are 100% true, so it's going to be interesting to see which one of you Resident Evil buffs will figure out if you know them, Myth number 1, Resident Evil was based on the Juarez murder house. This is a house in Mexico where the cartel would conduct killings, torture, executions, which I guess is the same as killings, and they did a bunch of that, and apparently this is supposed to be based on the concept behind Resident Evil. It's a myth because I don't really see the connection outside of the fact that a lot of fucked up shit happened in this house. I don't think there's any drug dealing going on in Resident Evil. Now I hope, the cartel isn't too fond of killing YouTubers because these guys aren't too far away from me. Now apparently a mass grave of people were found in the Juarez murder house. So, there is a cemetery in the Spencer Mansion. No, I just don't see it. I don't see this. Number 2, fact. There were supposed to be four original protagonists in the first Resident Evil game. That's supposed to be Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and look at this man. Look at this unit, Gelzer. Gelzer? I mean, the hands on Gelzer are actually bigger than Jill and Chris combined. And what is Dewey? What was that? Actually, it's like a rope. What a difference that would have made if we just gotten like these cartoony protagonists. Number 3, myth. There's a way to save Luis in the original Resident Evil 4. Complete and total no. This guy is programmed to die, to get impaled by that Sadler hook. I think it's a hook. I mean, it looks like an organism. Now, if you didn't get your Luis Serra fill, of course, he is in the new Mercenaries mode in the remake. That's all we got on Luis, though. It would have been great to see more of this guy. Number 4, fact. Resident Evil was actually titled through a frickin' contest. The iconic name, Resident Evil. Someone just came up with it, like a fan came up with it. Now hold that thought, because as we all know, Resident Evil isn't just that name. It's also known as Biohazard, which is primarily the actual name behind the series, which is inspired by a punk band, Biohazard. But out here in the West, this is what they came up with. Of course, it's also inspired by things like Sweet Home. Myth number 5, this bloodbath poster. It's kind of hard to explain this as a myth, but besides the fact that it was an actual advertisement for Resident Evil, it was on the, certain magazines, gaming platforms, stuff like that. But it was pulled. I guess that's sort of the myth, is why it was pulled. Because it's too violent, it's too bloody. Actually, a really cool poster. I would not mind having that framed somewhere. Number 6, fact. The Sega Saturn version of Resident Evil had hidden monsters, exclusive monsters. Like this thing. This is actually called the Tick, which replaced the hunters in the original, other ports of the game. And they're very much more disgusting, like a giant tick, a giant insect. It's more disgusting than like a lizard. I can picture the hairs on this disgusting monster. And the Sega Saturn version also had other cool stuff, like an extra game mode, which is called Battle Mode, which even featured a zombie Wesker. There was a golden tyrant. Some of the graphics were just a little bit more detailed. Number 7, myth. Rachel Speyer. Now, if you're a huge nerd, you know that the concept art here, pictured, is that of Elza Walker, which is supposed to be the protagonist that Claire Redfield replaced. Elza Walker is a blonde. This is actually before Elza's time. This is so fucking nerdy. So this brunette motorcycle person was known as Rachel Speyer. There's a lot of people related in that small town for some reason. Incest. Number 8, fact. Resident Evil has the world record for the worst dialogue in video game history. It's an actual freaking world record, an official one, not just like, oh, it's bad. Well, it's pretty bad. The Guinness World Records actually awarded. It's not really much of an award, is it? The original RE1, the worst dialogue ever. In 2002. Yeah, this is actually on their website. And you can see they have some quotes like, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you. Number 9, myth. Resident Evil 7 is a soft reboot. Now this isn't a lot, I wouldn't say it's a myth, but it's more of a discussion that we can have. Is Resident Evil 7 a reboot? Think about it. How many of past canon events from the past timeline, you know, Resident Evil 1 through Resident Evil 6, were mentioned, survived onto Resident Evil 7? I actually cannot think of that many. There's not really a huge mention of the catastrophic global plot line that was Resident Evil 6 into 7. Chris Redfield's there, so some of that stuff did happen. I will agree that it is a soft reboot, so they might have gotten rid of like the crazy stuff that they went with, like the end of the world stuff. And if you're gonna call RE7 a reboot, it's a pretty damn good reboot. I'll say that. It's a pretty damn good one. Number 10, fact. Lady D is based on Elizabeth Bathory. And the first thing that you'll see when you do Google Elizabeth Bathory is that she was a Hungarian serial killer. 4 of her servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women between 1590 and 1610. She's pretty close to Lady D. She's pretty close to that freaking sociopathic milk carton. I mean, it's really easy to base most of the villains on horrible people, mostly like terrorists, but not serial killers, which I think like the new timeline of Resident Evil, like, you know, Resident Evil 7 and Village went towards like just horrible, vicious serial killers. Lady D is definitely one of them. She has killed many maidens. Have you seen this woman's basement? It's filled with cadavers. This is definitely a fact. There's no way they didn't get inspiration. In fact, I think one of the developers even confirmed it themselves. Number 11, myth. Rebecca was supposed to die in RE0. I don't know why I chose this picture. Don't get any ideas, people out there. I mean, she's dead, so that's why I chose it. But basically, dead from what though, right? Now, from a gameplay perspective, this isn't a myth. It's actually true. One of the first concepts, if I'm using my memory correctly, in Resident Evil 0 was that one of the protagonists, you had to choose which one was supposed to die. You could either choose Billy or Rebecca. So technically it is true, you know, that Rebecca was, you know, slated to perish, or it was up to you. I wouldn't have chosen Rebecca personally. She's like an angel. Why would you do that to an angel? Do I agree with the mechanic? No, because it's confusing. And you know, like Resident Evil 0 is already pretty damn confusing. Lore-wise, mechanics-wise, it's an awesome game regardless. Number 12, fact. Game Boy prototype was never released. And this is a really cool screenshot of said prototype that unfortunately we didn't get to get our hands on. Of course, the shitty dialogue still existed, but the scans of the prototype look pretty amazing. And you can see the zombies there with Chris Redfield, the helicopter, you know, the ending scene. Looks pretty intriguing. Number 13, myth. Chris's original name was Beam Mercurio. These icebergs, man, they're fucking weird. They got some weird entries that I don't even remember. Like, I don't know why I put this here. Okay, so this actually ties into one of our previous entries from the 4 original protagonists, Beam Mercurio. So if we go back to that picture, there was a name underneath Chris, which I can't read. That's insane. What the fuck is that name, dude? What is that? Number 14, fact. Code Veronica was supposed to be Resident Evil 3, the proper sequel to Resident Evil 2. Supposed to be Code Veronica. And that's why I think Code Veronica is so well liked. It's not really seen as a spin-off because it's its own game and it's very fun, very well developed. But it's actually hard to state this as a fact because it's still debated to this day what was meant behind, you know, the titling of Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, or Code Veronica. Code Veronica is a PS2 game. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a PS1 game, and if you look at them side by side, that's very clear. So this is debatable. Number 15, myth. Inez. Fuck. Inez. I don't know. What I do know is that this is an iceberg entry behind the actress in the live-action Resident Evil 1 cutscene. So what's the mystery behind this actress? Apparently for years, it was thought that this person was actually another actress named Una Kavanagh. When that was found out not to be the case, this wasn't Una's acting, people went crazy. They're like, what happened to the original Jill Valentine actress? It was actually an actress by the name that I can't pronounce there. And, you know, mystery solved. Number 16, fact, Resident Evil 7 candles for VR experience. It's true. They actually sold candles that heightened the experience behind the VR that would make you smell Resident Evil 7 smells. Yuck. I actually found a Reddit post here that says that someone really loved the smell of the candle. And, you know, even compared it to, you know, musky wood, there's gunpowder, creepy basement, the smell of mold. Oh, you can actually buy it. There's one on eBay for $44. If anyone's curious enough, be my guest. Number 17, myth. There's an invisible ladder in Krauser's area in the original Resident Evil 4. So here, yeah, see, you have to like glitch through, go completely ghost mode, run through pipes and metal stuff. How the hell do people do this? Where do you find, like, how? This is how you know how loved these games are. Look at that. Look at Spider-Man Leon. It's true. It's not I don't even know if it's a myth. I mean, it's real. Just very strange. But you have to glitch out, so debatable. Number 18, fact. T-Virus is based on the Ebola virus. And even within Resident Evil lore, William Birkin researched the Ebola virus in order to gain the T-Virus and eventually the G-Virus. It's just a lot of virus stuff I don't like talking about. But this is true, yeah, it came from the Ebola stuffs. Number 19, myth. Voces y risas de niños en el ambiente in Resident Evil 4. This is from a Spanish iceberg. This translates to children, voices, and laughs in the ambience within Resident Evil 4. This is pretty spooky, actually, because like we have to research, we have to look at the ambience. Yeah, there's a tiny little snippet there, like I'm gonna keep replaying it, where, you know, there's a stable sound of fog or creepiness, you know, chimes, but then there's a tiny little sound effect where you can hear like a ow, like that. Here. Right there. Hey, you know, creepy, because as we all know, the children in Resident Evil 4 are dead. They were murdered basically by Sadler. And last but not least, number 20, fact. Resident Evil 2 Midnight Party. Midnight Party is a promotional event for Resident Evil 2 where a bunch of people got together late at night, or I think it was around 10 p.m., 8 p.m., you know, local time. And you might be wondering, is there actual footage of said party? Holy shit. Pixels. Look, this is like Horror Nights. A very pixelized Horror Nights. It's insane though that we actually have footage of it. Oh, there's Leon. Live action Leon. How can I tell? How can I tell that that's Leon? Holy shit, someone actually really threw themselves. And then, so, you know, that's obviously a fan. They're probably doing the competition stuff. This is awesome. This kind of reminds me of like midnight release stuff at GameStop. You know, the ones that I went to, Halo 3 midnight launch. Of course, I went to that one. Stuff like that. I like little fan experiences like that. And the Midnight Party is one of them. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. Which one of these facts or myths do you believe in? Which ones did you already know about? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more horror videos and lists and stuff like this that we're gonna keep doing.
Remember, your eyes will